Finding Elmo by Monique Pullach, narrated by Iambic Productions, published by Orca Book Publishers. Get off the couch! Winifred cried, staring into the windows. Bird brain? Peter squeaked back. Quit your squawking, I called on my way to the Avery where bird cages are. Breakfast is on. Bird brain? Hubert screeched again. This time I laughed. I love Saturday morning. Most 15-year-olds would probably rather be sleeping in, but not me. On Saturday morning, Dad showed up, I run 4 feet and 7. Now that we've moved to our new location in LaSalle, it's Montreal's biggest pet center. If I sound proud, because I am. Dad basically started 4 feet and feathers from nothing. As I pressed my palm on the aviary door, I inhaled the store's familiar scent. Hay, birdseed, a little fresh paint on the surface. Winifred crossed back and forth on the wooden curb, keeping a close eye on my pendant as I unlatched her cage door and reached for the food dish. Get off the couch! Winifred, I said, shaking my head and trying not to laugh. Winifred gives herself to laugh at. We didn't even have a couch in here. The black guy said. You could tell she didn't believe me. We'd inherited Winifred. That happens with pets. Big birds like parrots, macaws, Winifred and macaws, often outlive their owners. Winifred's last owner was an old lady with many pets, including a dog that shed on her, which explains how Winifred picked up the expression, "Get off the couch!" Hubert, a gray parrot, was climbing the bars of his cage, watching as I filled Winifred's food dish. He knew his turn was next. He was sure he was getting exactly what I'd given Winifred. Saturday morning special, I told him as I opened the fridge and took out a plastic tub of pineapple chunks. I added one to his food dish and another to mine. Hubert stretched out his gray wings, and for a second it looked like he was wearing gray cape. Good morning, I whispered as I removed the old sheet draped over the next cage. Elmo liked sleeping in the dark. He picked up the habit when he was living with his old owner, a sailor who brought Elmo home from one of his trips around the world. He inherited Elmo, too.
Finding Elmo!
Sheet under the counter, Elmo stepped closer to the bars at the front of his cage.
Elmo.
Then he lowered the top of his head so I could pet the soft tuft of black feathers there. Elmo is brownish black, except for a panel of bright...
I'm red! Elmo is red.
Elmo spreads his tail feathers.
I don't have a tail.
He's awesome. Though I had tons to do, the store opened in less than an hour, I gave Elmo a good scratch, reaching right for where his feathers met the skin. Elmo's not a talker. Most cockatoos aren't, though when Elmo's excited, he squawks so much you'd think he was trying to...
Elmo!
I knew he was enjoying the scratch because when I took my finger away, he followed my hand, pressing his forehead against the bars. Never forget the first rule of owning a pet store. Dad was at home, probably helping Mom deal with the latest disaster. Yesterday, the twins had caught pink eye. I could hear Dad's voice as clearly as if he was standing behind me. Don't get too attached to any of the animals, Tim. Remember, they're all for sale. Each and every one of them. As long as they wind up in good homes, we're doing our job. The thing was, I was already too attached to them. We had it since I was 5. And though it might sound weird, especially if you've never gotten to know a bird, I was as close to Elmo as I was to Philippe, who'd been my friend since preschool. I'd hardly seen Philippe since we'd moved to LaSalle. During the week, he worked at a daycare near our old house. On weekends, I was busy at the store, and so far, I hadn't made any new friends in LaSalle. Mom and Dad said things would get easier for me once school started. I hope they were right. Thank goodness I still had Elmo. I just hoped his hefty price tag, $2,000, would keep anyone from buying him. It takes longer to feed Elmo than the other birds because of padlocks. Elmo is an escape artist. Opening latches and padlocks is his hobby, the way some people collect coins or play computer games. Elmo will spend weeks using his beak to play with a lock until he finally pries it open. Dad keeps adding more locks. Right now, there are 3 on Elmo's cage. A soft, warm body rubbed up against my shins as I closed the aviary door. reached down to pet Ginger, the store cat. Someone had abandoned her at our old store. A marmalade cat, she'd spent most of her days in the front window, soaking up the sun in a giant cat condominium that was dotted with bits of her orange fur. Hey, Ginger, I'll be back when I'm done with the turtles. Ginger purred. Animals are easy. All you have to do is feed them and pet them and clean their cages, and they'll be friends with you forever. Human beings are another story. Human beings are way more complicated. Chapter 2. Dad usually sings when he walks into the store. Dumb songs mostly, like How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? He also stops to say hi to everyone, even strangers, and to pet the animals. He's often got dog biscuits or cat treats in his pockets. Not today. Today, Dad rushed by all of us and headed straight to his office at the back of the store. I was cleaning out the rabbit pen, but I saw him go by. When he slammed the door behind him, Cottontail went to hide underneath a log. All I could see of her was the end of one brown floppy ear. I reached under a clump of hay until I found a small red wool ball. When I rolled it in Cottontail's direction, she peeked out from under the hay, her nostrils quivering. Cottontail's obsessed with cat toys. Everything okay this morning? A soft voice behind me asked. Hey, Amy, I said, turning around. Amy's our bird girl. She looks like a punk rocker, but she's actually studying to be a vet tech. Birds fed? Amy asked. Yep. Elmo's still here? Nobody stole him? Still here. Amy made the same joke every morning. She knew how much I loved Elmo. We're expecting a shipment of fledgling whelpers. I could use a little help when they get here. After Amy left for the aviary, I finished changing the hay. Rabbits don't just sleep in hay, they eat it. It would be like us eating our sheets. Once I'd finished in the rabbit pen, I walked over to Dad's office. On the way, I passed the fish department. Trout, our aquarium guy, was skimming the decks, using a gauzy strainer to remove the fish that had died overnight. Dead fish are part of aquarium life, but they don't make a good impression. I knocked. When Dad didn't say anything, I knocked again. Who is it? Dad sounded tense. It's me, Tim. Come on in. Though he'd invited me in, I had the feeling he didn't really want me hanging around. Dad was hunched over his computer. There was a spreadsheet on the screen. That meant he was working on the budget. Realco, the real estate company that owns the LaSalle Mall, had offered us 6 months free rent as incentive to move 4 feet in feathers. I knew Dad was worried about what would happen next month when we had to start paying rent. It was going to be way more expensive than the old location, and it didn't take an accountant to know that sales this summer had been kind of slow. Dad hadn't asked my opinion about the move. It was his store, and I was just a kid. If he had asked, I'd have told him I wasn't worried about money. I was worried about the animals. A bigger store meant Dad had brought in more animals, but he hadn't hired extra staff to take care of them. That meant more work for all of us and less attention for the animals. Everything okay, Dad? I didn't know what else to say. For the first time, I noticed Dad's hair, it's the same brown as mine, had some silver in it. Uh-huh, Dad said, without lifting his eyes from the computer screen. Want anything from the food court? Coffee? Blueberry muffin? Nah, Dad waved me out of his office. Just trying to balance these books, he muttered. It sounded more like he was talking to himself than to me. When I let myself out of Dad's office, I practically tripped on a piece of shiny black material. Rodney, you gotta be more careful with that cape. Rodney looked up at me with sad brown eyes. I'd hurt his feelings. Phantom of Doom, he said. Rodney's lips curled up a little at the sides. He loved it when people called him Phantom of Doom. What you doing here, Phantom? Rodney's eyes dropped to the tile floor. My mom needed cereal, so she left me here. Said she'd be back in half an hour. I'd never met Rodney's mom, but she must have bought groceries one item at a time, because she was always leaving Rodney at 4 feet in feathers.